Racing guides. Right, I was supposed to make guide videos. It's been 7 months since the first one, so how about I finally make a second one? Halloween is nearly starting. More cosmetics, more active players. Need your shillings fast? This video will not guarantee that. Racing is supposed to be fun and challenging, but it can be an exhausting grind. If you're still interested, then let me explain boost mechanics and share tips I personally think can be important or help you earn Yofik shillings. Quick mention that the Yofik Wild Horse is still the fastest horse. It's been that way since like mid-2023. This Halloween, the old Magic Yofik Wild Horses might be available again for a lower price, so that's why I'm mentioning this again. Also, I'm sick, guys, so if I sound any different than usual, know that it's because of that. This video will have chapters, so you can skip parts you find most interesting. How do I get better in racing or champing? I like to always say that large servers with active racers can motivate a new racer to become better, faster. It's how I personally learned racing, competing against the best. Rarely did I get weak scores because the racing community on that server was so active and so large back then, but it pushed my scores to be faster. Learning shortcuts is essential to good scores, no matter what, but I think personally that if you understand the boost mechanics of the game, that's just as important. Shortcuts are easy to find, there are shortcut videos everywhere. Boost mechanic explanations, however, is something I have yet to come across, which I will explain in a later chapter, so don't miss out on that one. Accuracy is also very important, not constantly steering and pressing your buttons. The more accurate you are, the faster your score. The way I trained this 2 years ago was by learning the Baroness racetrack races, specifically the ones where you have to run on the fence. I know you might dislike those or forgot they even existed, but these races are likely the best for training accuracy. They were my favorite races for the longest time, purely because I was one of the few who could actually race them. How to quickly earn Yofik shillings with racing. The easiest answer for that is small servers. The scores are likely low, and even if that's not the case, you're competing against fewer active races. Daily scores already give like 300 Yofik shillings per race. But what if you want to quickly earn your Yofik shillings and not spend every day on racing? In that case, weak scores would be more profitable for you, but weak scores are harder to get than dailies, depending on the amount and skill of the racers on your server. Again, that's why a small server might be better if you're out for Yofik shillings alone. There are multiple types of boosts. I will do my best to explain all with great details, so hang in there. First, we have the hill boost. It's the simplest of boosts. You jump off a small or a big hill and you get a small boost. If you steer a short while before jumping for a boost, like a tiny bit before and during the start, you're likely to get a bigger boost. However, the larger the boost, the more likely self-steering can happen. The meaning of self-steering is self-explanatory, I think, but I'll explain. It's when the game steers you in a different direction than you were headed, with you being unable to control the movement of your horse for a second or less. This obviously also affects your score. So I call this the pixel boosts, the most random boosts of the game, and usually impossible to get again. Some are easier to get, others are literally a once in a lifetime boost. Then there's the object boosts. I love these types of boosts. Hopefully SSO never removes them. Object boosts you might have heard of are the pole boost in Fairgrove Champ. Then you have the tree boost in Greendale Forest or the stone boost in Moorland Champ. There are two versions of this boost. They're very alike, but one is larger than the other. The first, run with the side of your horse touching the object. Once your horse's back hitbox hits that object, jump once. The result of this is going into the ground. When that happens, jump again and you will be boosted forward. If you're struggling getting into the ground with the first jump, try this. Steer a little before you jump into the object. This might result in self-steering after the second jump, but honestly, self-steering at this point is what I believe to be impossible to avoid in any form of racing. The second version is what I usually use with poles or trees. Run with the side of your horse to touch the object. The difference here, we're running to the object, we're not already at it. So run from a distance so your horse will eventually touch the object. Before you reach the pole or tree, you jump. This is very precise timing, but you got this, I believe. Again, you jump, resulting in your horse touching the object in the air. When the side of your horse touches, jump again. This will result in going into the ground. Jump again and you will be boosted forward by a lot. These boosts are often only used when the object is standing on a hill. The most well-known wall-like boosts by now is the Moorland hay bale boost. It used to be the wall in Steve's race. How times change. Anyway, the trick is to getting the back of your horse's hind hooves into that object, be it wall, fence or hay bale, and then double jumping. Don't jump too late, don't jump too early, it's all about timing. Jumping once will get your horse to go into the ground. Jumping the second time will result in a boost. Because the Moorland Champ has a wind boost exactly at that boosting point, it launches you forward by a lot. If you do it right, you might get launched so much that you might touch the moon. Usually, the boost is a bit smaller, just a bit, unless the wall is atop a hill, like with Steve's race. In that case, the boost can be quite large. Can self-steering be avoided? The only way I know it can be avoided is by playing on mobile. It doesn't always exist there. On PC, it's always a gamble. Do I take the risk for this boost or do I not? How will it affect my last score? If you know a specific boost might result in self-steering, that's a gamble you have to make. Sometimes self-steering happens even at something simple as jumping off a hill. Sometimes I feel like it's random, but so many specific boosts also result in self-steering, so honestly, I'm unsure. I feel like people would say Moorland, but I have to strongly disagree with that. Moorland will learn you the importance of boosts, yes, and boost mechanics like steering while jumping for a sort of random boost. However, I think longer races that are less popular can result in you having a better time overall in learning shortcuts and being satisfied with your high score. Best races for beginners would therefore be, don't hate me, Jorvik Stables Elite. If you like more aesthetic races, I would even recommend Hollowwoods, only if you know boost mechanics. Both races have no overly annoying parts or overly complicated boosts and shortcuts. And if you're ready for a bit of a challenge, then the changed New Hillcrest race might even be a good one. Hardest races to get a good high score for a beginner racer would probably be Snakebite or Rowan's like Rain Jumping Race, or maybe even Goldenleaf Forest. The best championship to learn champing would probably be Silverglade. It's simple, doesn't have self-steering, etc. That champ is more about speed than anything else though, which makes it tough, but it's the easiest to begin with compared to the shortcuts and boosts that other champs have. Skipping jumps sounds really fun, right? But in truth, it's maybe not. It's useful though, whether we're talking about fences, hay bales, wood poles, or those wide poles on the side of a jump, they can sometimes be skipped. These things I consider shortcuts, since none of these different types of jumps are the same. All of them are skipped differently. For the normal jump you would see in Snakebite, for example, you tap the side of the pole to get the checkpoint and you never have to jump. However, it's easy to get stuck this way and lose the precious time you were trying to save. This is a skill I myself have not fully gotten yet either, since jumping races aren't usually my thing, but I can tell you this. Don't steer before touching the pole. Try to bounce off of it and then steer. That way you're less likely to get stuck. Other jumps can be skipped by either tabbing the jump like you did the poles, or to go between the checkpoint and the jump to skip it. Again, I consider this to be just shortcuts that you either have to find out yourself or see in a video. guys, make sure you have the right irons on, that your horse is happy, and then anything is possible. That was all the mechanics and tips I have for now. I made a community post today. If you haven't yet, go check it out. But for now, I hope you have a lovely day. Happy racing, guys, and I'll catch you later.